Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing Communications at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. And today I'm joined by...
I'm Paige Guynn, Director of the Blacksburg Ballet.
Welcome, Paige. Last time we talked, it was all about dance tech. This time it's more about Blacksburg Ballet. And one of the things that I left off our last episode, which it's funny, I just asked if she remembered. She doesn't. Look
You're
at the
making
fear
me nervous
on her face. I want to learn a little bit more about the history of the ballet. You know, those pieces that go into, why do we do things? Why is it the French terms, but it's Russian in nature? That kind of stuff.
Wow, this is like a real pop quiz.
Yeah, real pop quiz.
Oh my gosh.
All of her students need to listen and grade Miss Paige here.
And see if I have all the facts down straight.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, you're right. I should have reviewed in my head. But I will actually say that ballet is originally Italian. So most people don't know that because, yes, you are correct. The terms are French and it's very popular in Russian culture. So it's very multicultural. What else do you want to know? Males and females, actually, it was primarily males are the dancers that first started ballet, and then females came in later, which I think most people have the perception when they think of dance, they think of female dancers. But I think male dancers are extremely impressive. And that's where a lot of their skills you see in other styles of dance for females. Like the huge jumps and turns, like rotating a bajillion times. That's kind of been, I wouldn't say stolen, borrowed by like jazz and lyrical dance. And female dancers are aspiring to be able to execute skills with that level of athleticism and strength.
So with that, was it similar to theater in that, I throw back to Shakespeare where it was always men on stage. If you've seen Shakespeare in Love, which isn't a history, but like a rough history of, so what made that kind of shift happen from it being all men playing all the roles, regardless of how it's written, to women coming into the scene and actually being a part of the process?
To be honest, I do not know the answer.
That's great. Get in the comments, kids.
I'm going to get schooled. That's okay.
That's fine.
But it's similar to like upstage, downstage dancing. If you're not familiar, like the stage was at an angle. That same thing in dance as in theater back in the day. So we still use all those same terms, even though, thank goodness, we're not dancing on an angle.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I have left and right tattooed on me, and at the same time, you need to like do it separately for stage left, stage right, house left, house right. Trying to keep that together in your mind while dancing, to me, I can't even imagine.
I don't think you think of it.
It just happens. But I would think of it, and then all of a sudden I'd trip, and then so. With ballet versus some of the other forms of dance, and this might just be a misconception on my part, but I always see ballet as a lot more technical, a lot more specific. And I don't know if that's just the way it used to be, with it being like so harsh on you and all of those pieces. Why am I wrong? I
think that perception is because, at least here in the U.S., this is not other cultural dances, just like dance that you see traditionally here in the U.S. Ballet has been codified for so much longer than other styles. So like there are specific styles of jazz where you go through an exact sequence during your warm up, and you can go to specific schools and get certified in that. Same for modern. There's these greats that created their own syllabus and style, but those have all happened more in the 19th, 20th, 21st century rather than being around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Do you think there's still evolution happening in ballet?
Yes.
How so? Because that's where I get like a little stuck, because I don't know what's happening. I just know it's like, oh, they're on their toe, they're turning. Those pieces.
Well, there has been evolution the entire time, of course, and kind of each new wave celebrates a different type of dancer. So that's one of the biggest things, is that there's so much more diversity, and it's not as much of the old school where, you would be eligible to go to boarding school for dance, but they would whip out the measuring tape and check the proportions of your forearm versus the top of your arm when you're little, and they can project of, do you have that ballet body? Will this be successful later? And that is it's the case in certain schools, but we're so much more accepting of like all different styles. And because we're bringing in all different body types, you don't have to be 6 feet tall, weigh 100 pounds, and have the longest legs you've ever seen in your life. The skills that are associated with different physical strengths are being presented a lot more often.
How do you make sure, I know we've kind of talked about this before on other episodes, how do you make sure in a situation with ballet where it does have a history, frankly, of abuse, and then that negative connotation, how are you making sure that through Dance Tech and through Blacksburg Ballet, you're breaking those barriers?
First thing is that all of the people we work with are, I think I've mentioned this before, we all do training through the Youth Protection Association in dance. So like we're required to go through all of these classes and modules that even just let us know what is damaging, because sometimes, that's why something's systemic. You don't even realize it because it happened to you. It just passes on and on and on. So first of all, you have to even know that something is an issue. So one of the examples that probably people think of is very traditionally, it would be like you're standing at the bar, you're supposed to have your nice posture, and a teacher would say, suck in your stomach. That's not what they're trying to get you to do. What they're trying to get you to do is engage your core muscles, like use your lats, have your spine stacked straight, shoulders on top of your hips. But if you're saying suck in your stomach, first of all, that can be really damaging depending on who knows what's going on in the individual's head. But it's also not explaining the actual purpose.
Right.
So I think that's a huge thing, is that we're working on educating our dancers to understand the history of why we do things a certain way, how it functions in your body to help you achieve the next step, and being gentle with yourself, because like literally, not everyone's leg is going to go behind their head, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So it's the whole like comprehensive understanding of what you're asking your body to do, instead of just thinking about the aesthetic of suck in your stomach, kick your leg so high.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't ever learn why you're doing the thing, you may know how to do it, but then you're never able to explain it to someone else. You're never able to really recreate those pieces for you. I mean, when I learned to use my diaphragm for theater, it was a teacher putting a book on my chest and being like, all right, I need you to speak, and I don't want that book to move.
And you're like, what?
Why? What's going on? And it wasn't until like much, much later in my life, I was like, oh, that's what was happening. But at the time, I was just like afraid that book was going to move and I was going to get in trouble. And
that's something I would say probably no matter what you're studying, dance, theater, or sport, it's like it comes a little bit with age. You're not going to necessarily get it. Even if you're told in lower elementary school, you're like, yeah, okay, sure. And it's like, whoop, in one ear out the other.
Right.
So that's the other thing I think that's different about ballet from other styles, is most people, it's their first style they start, and you practice the same exact skills your entire dance career. So like, if anyone, a plie it means to bend. You literally bend your knees, you straighten your knees.
Okay.
There's a correct way to do it. And dancers in ballet class will do pliés from the time they're 3, every single class, the rest of their dance career. So you have to be a little bit kooky to sign yourself up for that, I think.
I mean, it's dedication. That's for sure.
It's like maybe not type A personality is the wrong way of describing it, but like someone that is detailed, goal oriented, and willing to be repetitive in order to achieve their goals.
I think we've talked about this as well, where the New York City Ballet, I was reading an article, they spend $7 million a year on shoes because after every single performance, they throw them out. And really, as that kind of goes into it, it makes me think with ballet, is it harder on someone's body than other forms of dance? Or is it just a matter of it's got a little bit more specificity and the equipment that you'll be using in those pieces?
I think it's the equipment factor.
Okay.
Because what they're saying is point shoes, basically they're made out of paper mache, so they dissolve. So we're not wearing socks. It's kind of disgusting, but like your feet are sweating into the shoe. It's breaking down that paper mache as you're utilizing it. So if you're not a professional, still a student in like middle or high school level, a lot of times what people do is they'll have 2 or 3 pairs that they rotate through. So you just leave it sitting out so it dries.
Right.
Before, which, that seriously sounds disgusting. But it's just a fact. That's how they're made. These professionals are asking their body to do so much more just in terms of the length of their performances and their training. So they're breaking down the shoe more. And that's why they need shoes more often.
Right.
But a lot of other forms of dance have gotten way more acrobatic in the past probably 20, 30 years. So it's just a different type of hard on your body and challenging. A lot more like jumping high in the sky, rolling down to the floor, going through backbend kind of things and other styles. Also,
with the shoe, is it still a piece of wood that's down at the end? Like, okay, all right. I always thought that was the case, that it was like with the point shoe, you had something there at the top that was allowing for that. Is that just people's feet? How are you doing that? Oh my God.
Well, there's the barrier of the paper mache. And then people it's called lamb's wool. It's literally lamb's wool, like fluffy in the bottom. Or now they make like slip-on pads that are just, I don't know, kind of foamy that you just slide over the front of your foot. But your toes are like this on the ground. And you want to feel it. Because for safety
I feel
purposes,
bad if you didn't feel,
like, you don't want to just be teetering up there not knowing what's going on. You should be able to like be grounded into the situation.
Yeah. It's kind of, I'm diabetic, and that's one of the things. It's like every time I'm at the doctor, every so often they're like checking the bottom of my foot to make sure I feel it. But when I was first diagnosed, they said, you're not allowed to go around your house without shoes on anymore. Because so many people that are diabetic that have that, they can have a cut on their foot that they'll never feel.
Interesting.
And that's where why you see people with very late stage diabetes, they'll lose their foot. And it's because the nerve endings aren't actually getting the blood that they're supposed to. And you can get gangrenous. Terrifying, different ways.
So much. Yeah.
Learning about sweating in shoes and how you can lose a foot is not where I thought this episode was going to go at all.
I talk about feet a lot at dance, actually.
It's
not
just
that
there
weird for me.
Yeah. With your program, so you were talking about, are students starting this the same at 3 on, or when is ballet a little bit more frequently seen as people are getting into it?
So our program, all littles, so if you're 3, 2.5, whatever, but it's a combo class with ballet and another style.
Okay.
So the tiniest ones, it's 45 minutes, about 20 minutes of ballet, 20 minutes of something else. Then it moves on to 30 minutes of ballet, 30 minutes of something else. And then right around 2nd grade, you'll transition to each style has their own class.
Okay.
So we're looking at 45 whole minutes of ballet.
And so, you just had your recital, well, when this releases a few months ago, and I saw a lot of different styles there versus with Nutcracker, it's ballet, and then a few things throughout, I'd say. Is Nutcracker more of the recital, quote unquote, for those going through the ballet training, and the other is a little bit more of the other kind of dance?
I would say yes, but it's something about the spirit and the feeling of the Nutcracker that the students just really look forward to it because it is it's the holiday tradition. And
Right.
so many people grew up, their grandparents taking them to the Richmond Ballet's Nutcracker or something like that. So it's their pinnacle of their year because of all the nostalgia that goes along with it.
I mean, I can see that.
And even in like pop culture stuff, there's just so much more. You can go to the store, there's nutcrackers all over the place.
Right.
So.
I mean, it is. My daughter's little baby swing has a sound already programmed in his Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. And every time it comes on, I'm like, no, turn that off.
She's preparing early.
Oh, she's got the kicks down. One of her ultrasounds, her foot is literally touching the top of her head, and everyone was like, she's going to be a dancer. And I was like, don't tell Paige. You can't.
Why?
Man, I don't know if I could be a dance dad. I don't know.
You could.
It's one of those things where I talked with someone recently, and it's because I have at least a somewhat understanding of what goes on in the world that I'm like, I don't know if I can fake it. Like, we talked about it came from music and the recorder, and if something sounds bad and I know it sounds bad, I don't know how to fake that moment and be like, good job. So that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
So you should be a coach or tutor or teacher of some sort, because that's all we practice all the time, is that positive affirmation of, it doesn't really matter if it sounds good or not, but
Right.
like, wow, your hand position is so much better than last time.
Yeah, it's finding those pieces that are within it.
So that's what you need.
I got a lot of training to get in there. I need to coach on my coaching.
We have a lot of dads actually involved with Blacksburg Ballet stuff, because there is a whole slew of like sets and props and that aspect that typically, it's not 100% of the time, that's kind of more their comfortable wheelhouse. So that's how they feel like they can really contribute and be a part of their kids' dance performance. Not necessarily the actual dancing or like doing their bun, but it's like, I can build a fake box out of wood. I got you. And that's how they feel like really like you're contributing a lot.
The amount of times throughout college and early career where I'd be working on a show and it'd be like, oh yeah, my dad built that, and it's because the dad just has no other way to connect otherwise. And I get it. I mean, if I didn't grow up in that world, I would 100% be in the same place of like, oh, okay, yeah, I can cut the wood. You got it.
Like, that's my specialty.
Even in that though, I'm like, no, that's Rachel. I'm not.
So
she's
you
the scenic.
could be, for us, you could be one of our party parents.
Oh, don't put me on stage.
Dance on stage.
Don't put me on stage. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about the party parents, the tradition, those aspects. The Blacksburg Ballet is a nonprofit dance company founded in the early 2000s with the goal of bringing quality dance, education, and performances to the New River Valley. Blacksburg Ballet's annual production of the Nutcracker has been showcased at Burris Hall at Virginia Tech, Bondurant Auditorium at Radford University, and most recently at the Center for the Arts at Virginia Tech. Blacksburg Ballet has been producing 2 field trip performances for many years. The field trip is a reduced performance length and cost intended for groups including homeschool, preschool, college students, daycare facilities, adult care, senior facilities, or any other group that would benefit from this alternate option. Thanks to their generous business sponsors, admission to their field trips in 2024 was free for the first time ever. If you'd like to learn more about the Blacksburg Ballet or their annual Nutcracker performance, visit dance-tech.com/Blacksburg Ballet. That's dance-tech.com/Blacksburg Ballet. Now, back to the episode. All right, we are back. I want to thank Grand Home Furnishings for providing the rug, the chairs in here that make it so much more comfortable. I really appreciate that. All right, so as we talk about the tradition and those aspects, I know, I mean, I've worked behind the scenes with you now on the show a couple of years. And there always are some slight differences that I can notice. But for something that has been around for hundreds of years at this point, how do you go into that each year of, all right, we want to make this tradition aspect hold, but we also want to make this a little bit new and fresh?
I mean, it's not only hard for us as like the teachers, but if you think about it, there's only so many roles. So like some of these kids have been the same character like 4 or 5 years in a row at this point. So they also want it to be new, fresh, just something.
Right.
The easiest way for kids to make it fresh is we switch up like costuming or props or add something in like that, because to them, they're not having to reinvent the wheel, but they do feel like it's an elevated experience from the last time. I mean, if you think about it, you worn the same thing for 3 years and finally you get a new one. You're like,
yes. This one doesn't itch in the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it like bothers my shoulder instead of my hip. Woohoo. But I think it's going back to what we were talking about earlier of the evolution of ballet in general. Yes, this is a traditional story, but we're not alone in this of trying to find new ways to represent different groups of people more effectively. So I think that's our number one goal, is each year bring in another aspect that showcases people in our community, not just other communities and far away La La Land. Like, we really want people to come to our show and see not just a literal person they know, but a representation of people that they know and grow up next to, and see at the grocery store and stuff. So I think we've talked about, we do, Blacksburg Chinese School has been performing the Chinese portion for 3 or 4 years now. And we're kind of always looking to build upon that and bring in new, different people that can represent their cultures, but also like party parents. I want them to be actual parents that are partiers. No. Maybe so, I don't know. But the point is, it's not a bunch of teenagers acting like parents.
Right.
They're actual humans from our community that have children in the show.
Yeah.
Or teach at your school. So that's one of the things that's really important to us.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with the parent piece, that goes a really long way in the kids' eyes of... There's so many times through this that I mean, I think back being a theater kid and feeling like you're kind of alone and that this is your hobby and this is those pieces. Having your parent be able to be on stage and go home and have that memory is just such a cool experience. To be like, we did this together. And that there are not very many opportunities for that to happen.
I remember when I was younger, we needed a Drosselmeyer, the magician guy, and like, there were no volunteers. No one was available. So my dad took one for the team and did it. But he can't hear music at all. Like, he couldn't tell when the music changed.
Okay.
So I had to be his assistant and just walk around with him the whole time. But he tells me now that afterwards, I was like, wasn't that so magical? Like, amazing, the feeling of being on the stage together. And he's like, no, I actually hate performing, but I did it for you.
Yeah.
And to me, as someone that enjoys performance, I'm like, how could you not like that? Everyone's staring at you. And he's like, no, I'm very content backstage. But
that's every time my mom's with me and like we're driving for long distances, I like to sing in the car, and I can sing. Like, I've been trained in these pieces.
Yes.
And the last time she was up here, we were going and she was like, why don't you think you can't sing? And I was like, I've never said I can't sing. I just don't want to do it in front of people.
Right. It's like a personal joy, not a public joy.
The minute I even think about it, even if I'm alone in the car, my voice goes from like on pitch to, and I'm like, no.
The nerves
nerves. Exactly. I think the nerves is something that never goes away. I mean, I'm sure you get on stage for Nutcracker tomorrow. Granted, it's tomorrow. You'd be really nervous. But like,
yeah, I haven't practiced. What are you talking about?
It still happens. How do you make sure, like, when you're teaching the kids, do you I guess, do you kind of help them harness the nervous energy? How do you approach that as you're teaching them?
It's it's a combination of a lot. First is people get scared when there is an unknown. So we talk about every single aspect that's going to happen. Like the lights are going to be shining. You will be able to see the people in the first couple rows. Whatever. There will be these employees backstage. So the more prepared you are in terms of what's going to happen, that first step. Second step is enough practice. So the more prepared you are of knowing what you're going to do,
right,
that makes a huge difference. But I would say this is probably, trying to think of something that this equates to. People are more likely to do like karaoke on a random cruise where they're never going to see those people ever again than you are at your local dive bar because you're like, uh-oh, that's my neighbor.
Yep.
Eek. So the way that we kind of get over that is they perform for each other in the studio over and over again, because we know that they're more nervous in front of their friend that knows what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So if you can get past that and practice that enough times, then we talk about, this probably isn't, it's not unkind, but I'm like, those random people in the audience have no idea what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So we just talk about that. Like, they don't know if you did the steps correctly. They probably aren't even looking at your feet. They're looking at your facial expressions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of strategy that goes into it, but basically being as prepared and talking through it multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've talked about this on the show so many times now, and specifically with you, but when I did that Christmas Carol in high school, and the main guy playing Scrooge freaked out, we all of a sudden went from it's Christmas Day right to curtain call. That story, I would say, is known just as well. Well, actually, I take that back. People don't really know the story of the Nutcracker. They just know Nutcracker, I feel like. That's true. But like, people know that story, and still afterwards they were like, "Oh, that was great," and then it was like, "What do you mean? Tiny Tim is still dying in this situation." Like,
they're just happy to watch their friend out there, and be supportive. It's not. I mean, we talk about. I work with kids all the time, so I'm like, you're much more worried about yourself than other people are worried about you. Everyone's focused on themselves,
right? As the staff going into it. What are things that you're kind of looking at and you're going, okay, this is where I'm feeling a sense of accomplishment. This is where I'm feeling a sense of I need to work on this. Because I feel like it is a balance of, it's okay, that happened, we're keeping moving on. But at the same time going, this could be worked on. This could be changed.
Ooh, I think it's the preparation factor. Like there's a few set prop drop kind of quick changes that happen during the show, and there's been a couple times where we had the mistaken idea that it would just happen. Oh, we've done it before, no big deal. That was not correct. It was like, I mean, it's been a whole year, of course we don't remember exactly. Right. So practicing through that more often. We kind of have a running list of just like tiny snafus, and there's never been something like bad.
Right.
It's just, I want that to be smoother. Things like checking the batteries for the candles for the angels. One year we went to go handle the they're the youngest people in the whole show, and their candle wasn't lighting up. So was it the end of the world? No. Did I take the sparkly thing from the snow princess and hand it to the 3-year-old? Yes, I did. So it's just little things like that of like, oh, yeah, we need to add that to our checklist, that make me feel like as we're trucking along. But overall, because our ballet director, Nina, has been doing it so long, it is like, also she's an engineer. So it's a well-oiled machine straight from the casting. Yes. She spreadsheet central, like this person is in this many dances, they have this many songs, it's so organized and planned that it really helps when we get to the actual day of the show. Like, I feel like we are just trucking along. There's not that panic last minute for anything anymore.
But then when you're getting there, specifically at the Center for the Arts, where you're having to combine now the aspect of, all right, we've got the kids prepared as much as they can. They're now in a new space. We have to add in the technical elements. How are you managing those pieces as a staff? Because I already know that everyone has questions all the time. And
that is a true statement.
Like trying to balance all right, I can answer this right now versus we only have so much time. Like you're not necessarily doing Q to Q or any of that, right?
So the Art Center has all of our technical things pre-programmed now at this point. So they are also super prepared.
Right.
So we just roll in and go. But we kind of divide and conquer. Like I have a customer experience team. They are in charge of all of the parent questions. Logistical drop-off, pickup, anything like that. They're the people to see. Like Nina is in charge of the dancer questions. What side do I start on? All of those. And then I'm in charge of the technical questions because I'm the one that I would say calls the show, but I don't even have to do that now because it's so organized. But I'm the one with the headset on communicating with the people with lights, music during all of the rehearsals and the shows. So we kind of have 3 departments and that really helps I still get a 5-year-old coming up to me, can I go to the bathroom? While I'm on the headset trying to say, Maine, go. But overall, it's pretty, people know who to go to.
Okay. I asked this question for Dance Tech last time. This time I'm going to, even though I know you've prepared, going to do it in a slightly different way. Through all of this, what would you count as failure for Blacksburg Ballet? Really, how you see failure in general, but when it comes to Nutcracker, what would be your version of failure?
Ostracizing anyone and not giving people the opportunity to feel the joy that can be felt. I'll use an example that actually was with our competitive team for the studio, but we went to an event earlier this year where there was a studio. I'm not going to say their whole name, but the end of it was factory. And I had so many parents come up to me from our own studio and were like, that place really is a factory. Every single one of those dancers looked exactly the same. We could tell that there was no celebration of them as an individual person. They were not whipped into shape, but who knows? We haven't been to their classes.
Right.
So to me, ostracizing or offending someone is my worst nightmare with Blacksburg Ballet. I want to make sure that no matter how old you are, you see someone on stage that is in your age range. Maybe not exactly, but within your demographic. I want people to see different sizes, ethnicities. I don't want anyone to go and feel that it's unattainable for them. They should feel oh my gosh, that was so inspiring. Maybe next year I want to be in the show, and that they would be accepted. Even in terms of skill level, we have from professional to this is their first dance class they've ever taken. Whether they're 3 or 33, we have both on the stage. So that's just the most important thing to me is that we don't make someone feel left out.
I really love that that's the direction you took in that because we're different people. My brain was not enough ticket sales.
Okay, here's without money, there's no mission. So that would be a massive problem, but it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Right. But I also think that in taking care of what you were talking about, you have the other piece.
Yeah.
It's kind of when I was at the coffee shop, so many times you hear things that are well, you've got to take care of your profits. You got to take care of that. And then the other will follow. But I've just never felt that way. I've always felt if you take care of your staff and your staff and your people will take care of your customers, your clients. If they felt taken care of, they're going to take care of you.
Especially when we live in such a small community like this, it's word travels real fast. And all the tiny communities within our community, I wouldn't say travel as a pack, but if someone's buying in, the rest of your crew is also buying in.
Yeah.
So whether that's the gym you go to or whatever the case may be, it's we want to attract like-minded people that also care about everyone feeling included. So we won't have to worry about ticket sales if we're kind.
Right. Yeah.
If we were like evil witches, I would be nervous. But
right. Yeah.
we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. You're not that.
Hey.
Sorry. All right. Well, where can everybody find Dance Tech, Blacksburg Ballet, all of the places and all of the things?
Okay, let's see. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on, if you Google us, it's dance-tech.com. And then our subset, because it is a sister company, it's dance-tech.com/Blacksburg Ballet. You can find all our info there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate. As always, I will learn how to plie. Was that the word you said earlier?
To bend.
I'll learn how to bend without hearing a creaking sound at some point. Thank you, members, for listening along. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the fun stuff so you never miss an episode or any of the other content we're putting out there. In the meantime, go out, invest, connect, engage, and prosper.